Alafia, Grand Rising, my kings and queens. Today, due to the unfortunate accident with my sister Willow, the spirits have instructed me that I am to show you guys how to make an ancestor altar or ancestor table. For those who've seen the movie Coco on Netflix can understand why it is important to have an ancestor altar. And if you have not seen that movie, I suggest you do watch it, although it is a cartoon, but it's very educational in the likes of the afterlife or the what happens after you die, and why it's important to have an ancestor table. Sometimes you will drive down the highway or maybe even drive down a southeast street. You see that people put, wherever that person was killed, that they put an altar of teddy bears, of flowers, of cards. And so the altar table is kind of the same idea, but it's not where the person is killed, was killed. It's to remember them in your home, to have a place where just for them. A couple of rules about the ancestor altar. You will want to put it in a central location like a living room or a kitchen, but mostly I've seen it in the living room or dining room. You don't want to have it in the bathroom because it is sacred, and you don't want to have it in your bedroom. The ancestor altar, you do place pictures of your loved ones who have passed over on this altar. So therefore you are inviting the energy of your loved ones into your home that have passed over. And you are asking them for their guidance and to watch over you. And therefore you do things for them and they do things for you. One thing about the ancestor altar, the spot that you choose for your altar, it has to stay in that spot. You don't want to, because with me, I get like I want to rearrange everything, but I have to remember that I built so much energy in that one space that I don't want to shift the energy. In order for my altar to be as powerful, is for me to keep it in that same area. But I do go through every Monday and I tidy up the spot. And I'll show you also what I also do. Another important reason why you will want to put an ancestor altar in your home and also have your children participate and maybe make this to be a family tradition. Because as in the movie Coco, when family members are not remembered, that energy of them fades. And you're looking at me like, what do you mean by energy? The Bible says that, what's the scripture says? The soul that is sinning it itself will die. It's another one that says, what's another one? The soul that is sinning it itself will die. To dust you are, to dust you will return. And it's another Bible scripture. I can't bring it to mind right now, but it's probably going to come to me a little later. But let's go back to that saying, the soul that is sinning, it itself will die. See, people take that literal. So they think that, okay, so we all are sinners because of what Adam and Eve supposedly did in this Garden of Eden. Now we all carry the weight and the burden of the imperfection. So now our soul is a sinning soul, so whenever we die, we die. That's what it is. The scripture is, the dead are conscious of nothing. That's what they say, right? So far as back up to that soul that is sinning, it itself will die. You have to remember that the soul that they're speaking of is just our flesh. But our spirit, us ourselves, we are of spirit. We are spirit beings living a human experience. Okay? So this soul, this body is just a way to transport our spirits. So yes, the soul does die, but the spirit is an energy. And that energy never dies, but it does fade. And the reason why it fades, if you, again, referring back to the movie Coco, if there is not a tradition of remembering those who were here before you and having their pictures around, that energy around, eventually the energy is going to fade because it's been forgotten. Just like, I don't know, if you learned how to speak Chinese, and if you don't remember that every day, if you don't use it every day, if you don't practice it every day, eventually the words that you remember are eventually going to fade. The same thing with energy. If we don't pay homage to our ancestors, if we don't have their pictures around for us to remember them, our children to remember them, our children to remember them, then eventually that energy of them will fade. Now, I do believe in reincarnation. If you don't believe it, check out YouTube. Okay, there's a lot of documentaries on people who remember their past life who were reincarnated. I believe in reincarnation, and I do believe that some of us have been here more than once. I myself, I know I've been here more than once. My children, sometimes I can say that my children have been here more than once because they were doing things that ordinarily a child their age shouldn't know or shouldn't do. You know, and you've heard of somebody refer to a child and say, oh, he has an old soul or she has an old soul. That's just another way of saying, hey, that child been here before. And that's not just a saying. People actually can be reincarnated. Good example, I'm going to show y'all something. And I need to, for those who, I'm going to save it. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce you to my ancestor altar. Now, back up for a moment. When I told you guys the story about what happened to my Uncle Greg, I did kind of show the altar, but I did not go into detail as to what the altar is about and how to set up one. So, finally, I have took the time to make this video, especially with the loss of my sister Willow, the partial loss of my sister Willow, that I decided to use today. Well, I can't say I decided. I could say the spirit moved me to use this opportunity to teach you guys about how to build your altar, ancestor altar, to remember those in your family who have passed on. And hopefully have not passed away, but have passed on to the next dimension of life. So I do urge those ones who have mothers who passed away, fathers who passed away, somebody close in your family who's passed away, like me with my Uncle Greg, to build this altar in your home so that you can keep the memory of them alive, and also you can use their energy to guide over you. It's a true thing. When they say guardian angels, it is a very true thing. And the sad thing is, crazy thing is, what I've learned, that some people in our lives have to pass on in order to watch over us. And now I know that's what happened with my Uncle Greg, even though it wasn't his time. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my ancestor table. All right, let me see if I can get a little closer in. Okay, so what you're seeing here is my ancestor table. Let me see. Let me zoom out and then just come close. Somebody's texting me in reference to this cat that I'm giving away. This cat is a 1-year-old cat, but she just decides that she don't want to use the kitty litter. She wants to use my daughter's closet. And I'm like, oh no. But anyhow, that's something different. So I have here pictures of these are my great-grandparents, my grandfather's mother and father. And then the picture back here is of my great-grandfather. This is what I'm talking about, reincarnation. This here is my grandfather's grandfather. Okay, so that will make him my great-great-grandfather. And Mariana, you seen my father, right? And he looks just like my father, but this is my mother's great-grandfather. Isn't that crazy? Look, let me get a closer look on that. Reincarnation, y'all. Wait a minute. And those who know my father can say, yeah, he looks just like Arthur Lee. That is my mother's grandfather, who looks just like my father. And that's the thing about reincarnation. Sometimes you are reincarnated into the same family, the same line of family. Not so much on the same side. Like I said, he looks like my father, but he was first on my mother's side. It's crazy, right? Let's move on. And this is my May Tucker. It's my husband's. This is my husband's grandmother. Okay, and because we are married and we are yoked together, I do have his family who have passed on. This is his grandfather here in the picture. It's him, my husband's in the picture along with his cousins and everything, but the key figure in this picture is his grandfather. Papa Vils was one smooth pop right here. I didn't have the pleasure to meet him, but the stories I've heard, I can already imagine. And my Auntie Nadine, so young when she passed. My Uncle Greg, y'all know about my baby right there, Gregory Howard Drew. Then I have my Mama Nita and her sons, Uncle Picky and Uncle Junior. My Mama Nita right there. And that's my great-great-grandmother. That's my Uncle George, my great-grandfather George's wife, Nanny. And then this is my husband's uncle right here. That's Hayfordville. He passed away. And this is my mother-in-law, who I've only had the pleasure of meeting in spirit and on the phone. And I'll tell you about that story about her as to how she passed away. It's a long story, so I won't be sharing it today. Okay? So I know you guys are noticing these clear glasses on here. I have 9 in total. I have the one in the center, which represent like the universal God. You know, doesn't matter what you call him. There is and he is, and there's got to be something, a greater spirit than we are, because how else did we get here? As to where he came from, that's too far for anyone to fathom, and I get a panic attack just trying to think about that. So some things are just meant to not even go into. But just know that he is. Okay, so the other ones around represent the different lines of our heritage, of our ancestors. And so these cups are up here for clarity, for purification, and also it's life for the spirits. So sometimes my ancestors can come and drink of the water, and that's why I make sure the water glasses are clean. I clean them every Monday, and I fill them up with fresh water every Monday, so that they can have, you know, the water of life. This is, the water of life. Now I know that my JW friends are like, okay, Lisa got a cross. Why Lisa got a cross? Don't you remember that we were banned from using crosses? Okay, so you have to understand the symbolism behind the cross. Okay, I have it on my altar for a couple of reasons. One of which, a lot of my ancestors here on the table were Christians, so this is a representation of their faith and to make them feel inviting to come. Also, this cross, whenever I clean the table, I also use what's called Florida water. Let me show y'all this. It's called Florida water, and it's the equivalent of holy water. And I dash some Florida water on the cross, and I lay it up on my representation of the Grand Creator. It's like a way to stop other spirits from posing as my ancestors. So that's why that is there. I also have here, which I have here, is called the Star of Anise. It smells really good. It's called Star Anise. It's a herb and it smells really good. And it's a herb for protection. So I leave it on my altar because I don't put pictures of loved ones that are still present on my altar. So I use these to ask for them to watch over, to help to watch over me and my loved ones. Like, for instance, my son is in college, his first time away from home, and so I'm like, okay, I can't be with them all the time, but I can send the spirit of the ancestors. So that's what these little brown things here are for, the Star of Anise. Then I have a representation of my goddess, is Yemaya, the mother of the sea. And these are actually, let me get a closer look into that. These are clam shells that, and oyster shells look like, that when I first started my spiritual journey, when I used to walk down Haynes Point, I used to find these along the point. And it was weird to me that I would find clams and snail shells in the point, because I didn't think that they would have any kind of, creatures in there like that. But obviously they do. So I believe that these were a gift from Mama Yemaya as to the way I found them. And also, if you look inside, I put it was an old keychain, but it has a mermaid on the front of it. So that's my way of paying homage to Mama Yemaya. Okay. So with the ancestor table, a lot of people tend to put flowers on the table. I do sometimes. I just haven't been out to get any flowers lately. But flowers are a wonderful gift to present to your ancestors, and they all have a wonderful fragrance. The good flowers to use, flowers for the ones for the Passovers. Yeah, like the Jerusalem Passover, but that's what I like to refer them as, because they're not gone. They just simply passed over to a higher dimension. But the best flowers that are to be used are, for example, in the movie Coco, they use marigolds. That is one of the most popular flowers to use on your ancestor altar. Also, you can use the chrysanthemum or jasmine flowers. But any flowers are good. Anything that smells good. And pick flowers that you know, like if you remember what your grandmother's favorite flower was and she passed on, you can use that flower. Anything to bring about representation and pay homage to your family member. Now, I see you guys are eyeballing my money over here. Let me just get this. This is called, a few names that is called by. One name is Ancestor Money. The other name is Hell Notes or Heaven Notes. And it's made on joss paper. And it has the emperor, the Jade Emperor on there. The Jade Emperor is the emperor of money, is the god of money. So that is why his face appears on the ancestor money. Now, I had one of my friends ask me, are there monies for African deities? Is there ancestor money with our deity, African deities on there? My answer is no. And the reason why is because the Jade Emperor is the god of money. That is why these notes are made with his face on them. It's like going to the bank and asking the bank, hey, I see you got, I see you got all the dead presidents on there, but do you have any of the the freedom fighters that on money? It's just, this is currency. It's just like the American currency where you have the American presidents on there. This money, this ancestor money, you will only find with the Jade Emperor on there because he is the keeper of money. He is the god of money. So don't look at this and say, oh, well, I don't want to use that because it doesn't have a picture of someone who looks like me on it. You have to understand the meaning behind it and the history of it as to why the Jade Emperor is on there, and you will not ever find one with an African deity, because each god has their own, or each deity, I'm going to say deity, or archangel, have a job. And the job of the emperor, the Jade Emperor, is all dealing with money. Okay, so that's why we use the joss paper with the Jade Emperor. This one is $10 million. I usually like to burn 3 at a time for about $30 million for everyone in my ancestors. And the reason why you burn the ancestor money, again, I'm going to refer back to the movie Coco. And the movie Coco was a great depiction of what the afterlife is about. Not to say that I've been there myself, but there are stories. I've been to heaven, as you guys know. If you go back to my videos, when I talked about my Uncle Greg and how I found out that a nurse killed him because I was on the 3rd floor of heaven, where people go who weren't supposed to die. But if heaven exists, then I'm telling y'all, the way heaven was in that 3rd floor, it was a waiting room. It was like a waiting room, like a hospital or a doctor's office. So that made me understand that the afterlife is just like the herein, the life we live now. They have jobs, they have bills to pay, and they have clothes to buy, they have activities to do. It's just like living in this life, except for they on a different plane, a plane that a lot of us can't see. But there are people with a sixth sense that can see that other dimension while still here currently in this dimension. So, and also I talked to you guys about karma and how your karma follows you through your lifetimes. And so sending ancestor money to your family members not only help them to get the things that they need in their afterlife, but also help to cover some of the debt through karma that we are inheriting and that they could have inherited from their ancestors. It's a lineage thing far as karma. So burning the ancestor money or burning an ancestor altar will kind of help negate the effect of that karmic, of their karma, or maybe our karma from the previous life that we lived. Again, I have my holy water, but I use Florida water, which you're gonna find. You can find this at any Botanica. There are a lot of Botanicas popping up in the DC area. I suggest going in and checking it out. Don't be spooked out by it, because there's a meaning for everything. And the thing about us, we have to get out of that old belief system of Christendom, of how our minds have been trained to believe that what I'm doing is wrong, is dark, is of the devil, because this is power. And as long as they can control what you think, they can control what you eat, they can control what you watch, they can control what you wear, and they can control who you associate with. They have the power over you. So grab that power back, and everything that you've been taught, what's the saying? Unlearn everything. Okay, so let me just bring the camera on down. You see I have my candles here. And here's an offering that I have for my ancestors. Just like, again, I'm going to take it back to Coco. During Dias de Muertos, the Day of the Dead, which is just so happen to be Halloween. Our depiction of Halloween is totally wrong. The Halloween is American-made holiday, or maybe a European-made holiday, where they say it's supposed to be demonic and all that. Actually, no. Halloween is actually Dia de Muertos. It's the day where our ancestors are allowed to cross over into our world, but in the spiritual realm, for us to give them gifts. Just like in the movie Coco, when at the cemetery they had all the marigolds everywhere, and on every grave they had fruit offerings and liquor offering. And what our ancestors do, it's not going to be a scary thing where you see them actually lift up the spoon and take a fruit. No, they're made of energy. Everything around us is made of energy. So this food is made of energy. So what they do is take the energy from the food, and they can eat from the energy of the food, just like we eat the food ourselves. Same thing with the drink. They can take the energy of the drink and drink and enjoy themselves and drink it. This light is here it's like a light to offer light and heat and energy to our ancestors. And for those who started to fade, like, I know for a fact that, well, no, I can't say I know for a fact, because my grandfather is still alive, and him and his siblings are still alive. So they have a lot of pictures of their ancestors, of their great-grandmother and grandmother and grandfather. So they have pictures of them, and so their memory and their energy is still alive through them. And thank goodness I was able to get these pictures so that, heaven forbid something happens to my grandfather or any of their siblings, which eventually life will do that, the energy of my ancestors that were before them will still be alive in myself and my children. And hopefully my cousins who watch this video will want to do the same. Okay, so back to the food. The food you want to offer your ancestors, you don't want to put salt into the food. Even if it's a favorite food of theirs, like a steak or something like that, you still do not want to put salt in it, because salt will not allow them to be able to draw the energy of the food, so they will not be able to enjoy or partake of the food. I encourage sweets like cakes and candies and fruits. Definitely drinks. If you know, like if your grandmother or grandfather or mother or father have passed away and they had a favorite liquor, get it for them. If they had a favorite food, place it before them. And again, place it with the white candle. Always use white candle. And also, if you notice that my tablecloth is white. The ancestors table, you always want to use white tablecloth and white candles for purity. You know, white is good, associated with good energy. You don't want to use dark colors on the altar, because you don't want to bring about any kind of dark energy. Also, when it comes to placing your pictures of your ancestors on the altar, you do not want to place pictures of your ancestors who didn't like you, or place pictures of two ancestors on the same table that don't like each other, because that energy will stay on that table. Either they won't like you and things won't go right, you won't be able to get assistance from them, or the two will be fighting so much that you won't even be able to get no assistance from neither one of them. So you want to have a harmonious table for all the energy to be harmonious. Now also, I see you guys are looking at my obelisk. That is made of onyx. That is a representation of my husband's land. The land that they own have they're supposed to be mining on it soon, but it has precious metal and precious stones on that land. And I will have to tell y'all the story about that onyx another time, because I'm already almost at 30 minutes. Anything else I want to tell you guys about the altar table? Again, with the food, always offer them food. Oh, Dias de Muertos. That is the special time where you totally dedicate some time to talk about your ancestors to your children, and have them to remember them, have them to know their names, and show your children how to decorate the table, how to, make the altar beautiful. Definitely teach your children this and make it become a tradition to always remember your ancestors, so that if the time ever comes that you pass over, your memory will live on and your energy will live on. If you don't get reincarnated, and you will be able to help those that are still on this plane. Many people wonder why I'm so connected to the spirit. And honestly, it's because of my ancestors. They guide me through my daily life. They show me signs. I know for a fact Uncle Greg is always with me. I see his van all the time, and I also can smell him sometimes. And that happens too. My aunt was telling me how after my Uncle Junior passed away, the room that he stayed in, she knew when he came around because she can smell him. And that's absolutely the truth. One more story before I go. My grandmother, Mama Nita, passed away. I say it was exactly, I'm going to say exactly. Let me look at this card. 2002. Exactly 1 year. Nope. Exactly 3 years before I met my husband. I met my husband April 28th, 2005. My grandmother passed away exactly 3 years before I met my husband. And recently, I had a dream about my grandmother. I had not dreamed about her in a long time. I had not dreamed about her since she passed away. And in the dream, we were on her front porch, and I was walking up to her front porch, and there were flowers, like lavender flowers on the table on her front porch. And there was two other ladies with her, and I didn't know who they were. They probably knew who I was, but I didn't know who they were. So I think they were like her ancestors or some family members who passed on before she did. And she looked at me, she said, you looking good, huh? Must be that new man, huh? So that let me know that she has been watching over me. She comes to visit me because of this table, and she knows that I have a husband now, and something must be going right in my life because she told me I was shining. So that is all for today. If you have any questions, I do invite you to text me, inbox me. I would try to help you out as much as I can, but I also advise you to do your own research and look into how to set up your table, ancestor table, to remember your ancestors and to keep their energy flowing so that the energy does not fade and that they can help you and protect you through your day-to-day life. Ashe. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe and hit the like button. Ashe.